A wise man once said to me, the more I study history, the harder it is to be a patriot. America the Beautiful, built on biblical principles and the backs of slaves. Manifesting our destiny from New England to the California coast, desecrating most native civilizations that got in our way.
Alright, so once again, Ovi Ray, we're at Envy Records Studios again to bring you another episode of Friday Night Lights. We got a very exclusive guest today that blessed us with his time. We want to say thank you for coming by, Mr. Micah Bournes.
Yes, sir. Good to
Cheers
be here.
to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming. Happy to have you here.
Good to be here.
So, tell us what's been going on with you. What's new with you? I went through some of your videos earlier, researched a little bit on you, and
Yeah.
I'm really impressed, with your catalog of work, and it just makes me want to get to understand you more, and understand what your message is, and I think we could shed some light through this interview.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Long Beach,
Right on.
so I love it. This is my city. Growing up at the time that I was growing up, heavily influenced by a lot of MCs, because at the time, like, West Coast in general was running hip hop, and specifically cats from Long Beach, and so I grew up loving the genre.
Right.
But I never wrote it. I would always memorize other people's lyrics. But it really wasn't until I got to college that I started experimenting with my own writing. And it was really just because one of my homeboys, he was curious about music production. And so he bought a microphone, and in his dorm room, he was like, hey man, like, I want to try to learn how to build a song, so we need to write songs. He was just like, you like hip hop, I like hip hop.
Yeah.
And we had never written songs before, so we just started writing. Like, we would download free beats from the internet and just write songs so that he could like play with the vocals and stuff. And it was literally just for fun, something we do on the weekends after class, And then we started showing our friends, and they was like, hey man, you're actually pretty good at this though. And I was like, oh really? Like, I was just having fun. Like, look, I never heard myself recorded before, So, but after we showed our friends, like, people kept telling me, like, nah, bro, I think you actually got something here. And so that's when I started to take it a little more seriously. So I started rapping for 2 years, and then a shift happened because one of my homies invited me to an open mic for spoken word poetry. Now, I had seen, like, spoken word and performance poetry before on YouTube, but I never seen it in live,
Did the energy of the live thing, like, attracted you to it more? Like, did you feel it a whole lot more, like being there in person, as opposed to watching it?
Yeah, because it was like cool seeing it online. Like, all right, that was all right, but
you couldn't feel that energy, that live energy, right,
was
with the
next
crowd.
Level. And where it was actually, it's that this event still happens. It happens every Tuesday night up in LA off of Fairfax. It's called the Poetry Lounge.
Okay, and that's the event that inspired you.
That's the event that inspired me to start doing poetry in addition to hip hop.
Heard.
And so really what happened was, to be honest, I grew up what I would say is very stereotypically masculine. If you're a man, you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to have emotions.
Okay.
And you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be hard. I grew up loving gangster rap.
I see.
And there's still a lot of things about it that I still love. But what I thought was dope was I was at this open mic, and I just went because my homie invited me. I wasn't spitting at all, nothing. It was because it was all poetry, and I hadn't written any poetry at the time. But I saw cats all different. It was pretty diverse, all different ethnicities. And they was getting up there, and they was talking about their feelings. Mm-hmm. And they was talking about feeling lonely and sad, or they was talking about some abuse they endured, or the broken homes they grew up in, and they was getting emotional. And the crazy part wasn't nobody calling them soft. Wasn't nobody saying that they, was less of a man.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the opposite. Actually, it was a lot of people saying, yo man, like, thanks for sharing.
I'm sure a lot of people could relate,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think these are topics that people speak about. Like a lot of people go through these things. So
Absolutely, and I think that's what drew me to it.
Yeah.
Was, you know, so often when we go through life, when we're going through tough things in our lives, we really think that we're the only person going through it, and we're too afraid. Like, man, if we share this, someone's gonna think we're crazy, or it's gonna make my family look bad, or it's whatever.
Or scare people away.
Scare people away.
One of the things you say, and by the way, I really love Normal Hair.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I love that. Like, I played it like 4 or 5 times when I heard it,
appreciate it,
because I just it felt so real to me, you know.
Yeah.
So like what is normal, you know? Like, and I think a lot of people try to be what the definition of normal is, or their definition of normal, and they get caught up in that, and they don't they forget about their personal self, like who they really are, you know. They're so used to trying to make people happy, you know.
Absolutely. And that concept, that's why I was drawn to this poetry community,
Right.
because everyone tries to be normal, right? And we think, we looking at other folk and we're like, oh snap, their life seems so put together, so let me put on this mask. But what we don't realize is everybody's wearing the mask.
Yeah.
So we up here comparing ourselves to other people, and they got a mask on too.
Yeah.
And
or we looking up to these people, right? Like,
Yeah, we're
kind of
looking
glorifying
at these people. But what happened at this poetry event was, like, everybody was taking the mask off, and suddenly you realize, oh, I'm not the only one who feels this way. I'm not the only one who go through it. It don't make me less of a man. It don't make me soft or nothing to just be human. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. And so, you know, I found another way to express myself creatively in addition to hip hop. And so after that night, I was like, man, I want to start writing spoken word poetry as well.
Did you feel like an awakening, like inside of you? Did you feel like a load was taken off for you when you were able to put these words and express yourself? Because the way you express yourself, like when you're up there and you're reading, like, it's deep. You know what I mean? It's all in the delivery is just something else. Like I think when I heard you and I started checking out your stuff, I think I felt like that night when you were at that show, you know, something like that. Like I even want to express myself a little more now too. So I could definitely relate to that, man. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, that's what I love about art, and specifically spoken word poetry, but hip hop as well. But it's like a lot of people, especially because my spoken word is very theatrical, and depending on the poems, I write a lot about racial issues and personal things I've been through, and it can get intense at times.
Yeah.
And people are like, man, like, are you acting? Like, your emotions seem so real. You know, is that just like good acting? Are you faking? You look like you finna cry? Are you just like... And I said, well, not really. I'm not really acting. Well, of course, I'm an artist. So, of course, I practice my performances, right? So, yes, there's that aspect of it. But the way I explain it is this. You know, sometimes I feel like when I'm performing, that's the only time I'm not acting. Because when we go through life, we feel things intensely, right? But if you sitting in a restaurant talking to one of your homeboys about some stuff that's really going on, you're trying to hold it together. Because you don't want to look like a fool.
You don't want to look weak at times, right?
Or, you know, you're mad about something, but you're like, I can't scream at the top of my lungs in this restaurant, right? Or I can't start crying. So we don't. So we just say, oh man, you know, it's whatever. You know, I mean, it's all right. Like, yeah, it hurt a little bit, but I'm good. I'm Gucci, whatever, right? But, like, I could get on stage in the middle of a performance and I can scream at the top of my lungs because that's how it felt. Yeah. I actually did want to scream, or I could cry. I could start, you know, talking about my daddy issues or whatever the thing is, and I could get mad emotional, and I can show that with my body language, with my voice and my volume and my tone. And again, and folks are like, man, word, I feel that, right?
You ride that wave of feelings, right? Like you just ride that wave, and you just you don't hold back, like right?
And that's why I say I feel like it's the only place I'm not acting, you know, because I can express not just negative ones, happy, positive emotions as well. I can be as loud and as silly, or as like, frustrated or angry as I need to on stage, and everyone says, "Man, you're putting your passion into your poetry. That's dope." Or your music, that's dope. And so it's like, yeah, I feel free, and I'm not acting. But anyway, man. So now I do both. To answer your question, like, I kind of identify primarily just as a creative writer, and over the years, that's expressed itself differently. So I started off doing hip hop, but then spoken word poetry kind of became my main thing, and so I was kind of going back and forth between both. But
hip hop lit that fire though.
Yeah,
from
no,
the get-go.
absolutely.
Hip hop is what drew you to lyrics and
creativity,
storytelling,
yeah,
creativity.
Absolutely, right? Like hip hop was definitely my first love when it comes to expressing myself creatively, and then it grew from there into like I just like challenging myself.
Right.
So when I saw spoken word, I dug it, and I thought, man, maybe I should try this or push my creative boundaries, and then that just kept happening. So there was a time shortly after college where I started listening to a lot of blues music. And even though I didn't grow up listening to blues, when I started hearing it as an African American, it felt so familiar.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause my parents didn't play blues. They played like, soul and oldies, but never blues. But I'm hearing blues for the first time, like, after college.
Did it feel natural, organic?
It felt natural because I'm listeing to the language they're using. They're talking like all my grandmas and great uncles and aunties.
So you can relate to stories you've heard
because
growing
it's part
up
of the
and
black
from
experience,
history
exactly.
and culture.
Because I'm listening culturally speaking, and I'm like, yo, this feels like my family.
Right.
This feels like the way we talk. These sound like the stories we tell. And so I, in a different way, had that connection.
You embraced
blues.
it.
I embraced it.
Yeah.
But then after like embracing it, I was like, again, can I challenge myself creatively? And so I started doing blues. So I have a blues record called No Ugly Babies, right?
Okay.
So I have 4 albums out. I have 6 projects in 3 different genres. 4 full-length albums, 2 spoken word poetry albums set to music, a hip-hop album, a blues album, and then 2 hip-hop EPs.
So you've been busy. You've
I've
been busy,
been busy,
right?
man. And right now I'm busy. I'm working on another album. And kind of like with what we're talking about as far as emotions and expressing yourself, my next project is about that, like that concept of what does it mean to be a man, and how can we, it's good to be strong and courageous and all these things, but it's also good to be gentle and kind and honest, and like that doesn't make you less of a man either, and it's not just about protecting and providing for your family, it's about providing a safe environment even for yourself. I was talking to one of my homegirls, and a lot of times, men, they think they need to like protect and like be ready to ride or bust on anybody who threatens their family. But she's a really smart woman, and she goes, if you really actually look at the statistics of women who suffer domestic violence, it's not some robber who breaks in and beats them up. It's usually the men they love. It's usually their fathers, their brothers, their boyfriends,
the men they trust.
The men they trust. And so, what does it mean to protect your family? Get a gun and be ready to swing on some fools? No, what it means is working through your own anger and working through your ability to control your own temper so that you are a safe person for the women and the children in your life. Because they are more likely to be hurt by you than anybody else. So
like I would hurt my
Mm-hmm.
family more if I end up in jail for life for thinking that was the right thing to do, was to hurt another person to protect my family, as opposed to finding other alternatives to deal with the issue.
Absolutely. And
right?
that's part of like, the culture of being a man here, where we resolve everything through violence. Let's take this outside. Where all of a sudden somebody end up dead or somebody end up in jail. Now what you gonna do? Oh, you was protecting your family, and now you ain't gonna see him for the next 15 years.
And at the same time, I feel, because I got kids too, so at the same time, I feel that you're doing your children or your family an injustice, because you're the role model. So and later on in life, they might feel that that's the way to deal with things, you know? So I think we'd be doing our kids an injustice by doing that type of thing, approaching things that way, right?
Absolutely. And it's hard to shake that because there's so many messages that we get since we little boys all the way up to the grown men that encourage this way of thinking of like, be strong. And by no means hip hop did not invent that type of thinking. Like it's not just in hip hop. It's all throughout American culture. It's in all genres of music. And I have a bittersweet love for hip hop, especially being from the West Coast, the type of hip hop I grew up listening to. Creatively, artistically, I think it's dope. I think the style, I think the delivery, I got no issues with that. You know what I'm saying? But I have to be honest. I have to be realistic about, hey, not all of it was good. Not everything I learned from hip hop was good. Some things I need to unlearn. But at the same time, it's not
like,
about.
You mean some of the messages in
some of the
hip hop, like maybe
we learned, some of the ways we learned to deal with
downplaying
tension.
Women, or
Exactly.
just in relations to violence, drugs, and just glorifying certain negative
all
things.
of those things. And
Okay.
I'm not saying like everybody got to be some conscious rapping about
because
uplift
everybody's gonna be creative in their own way.
Exactly.
So,
and this is not to hate on anybody who chooses to express himself differently than me, but I think there's a difference between, because if you're gonna make art, it needs to be honest. Yeah. So if you grew up in a neighborhood that was wild, I expect your music to reflect that. But let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
That mug is not fun. It might be your reality, but it's not fun. Don't nobody like having their homies die.
Like, who wants
at
to
13?
be in that position? Like,
who
wants
want to
go
be
through
broke?
that, right?
Who want to be poor? Who want to see people they
Right.
love die? Nobody.
Right.
So talk about it, because it's necessary to remind the world of the reality of what's going on in such a wealthy nation as this. And black and brown people are growing up in these circumstances for a lot of reasons. That's important, right? So I'm not saying don't talk about the hood, don't talk about hood life or gang life or drugs or violence or pimping or all that. Talk about it, but be honest about it.
Right.
Like we all make mistakes.
Like
we all
there's
engage in it.
there's more to those issues than
There's more than just
the
making
glitz
them
and the
cool.
glamour of it. Yeah.
They're not cool, and that's part of the reason I love Kendrick, because I think Kendrick is an artist who he keeps it real, but he doesn't glorify it. I'm not going to name names because there's plenty, and it's not just one or two people. But there's a way to talk about life in the hood that makes it seem cool. Man, being a gangster must be fun. You know what I'm saying? When it's not fun. Anybody who's ever really been a gangster knows it's not fun to see people die and go to jail for life at freaking 18 years old.
Right.
And never see the light of day again. That hurts, right? So there's a way to talk about it that makes it seem like this cool thing that white kids from the suburbs suddenly want to like act gangster because it's a cool thing. And then there's a way to talk about it that says, you know what? This is where I'm from. This is my reality. This is part of my life. And I'm reflecting those realities, but I'm not glorifying them. I'm just saying this is where I'm from, and that's why I love it. Like Good Kid, Mad City. That's the story of, hey, songs like The Art of Peer Pressure. Like, man, I don't really do this, but when I'm with the homies, suddenly I'm caught up in a drive-by. Suddenly I'm caught up doing wild stuff that I know I probably shouldn't be doing. It probably isn't smart, And so he's honest about it. He's not acting like he's above it, but he knows, like, man, this can lead to some terrible things. And then there's also beauty. You know what I'm saying? Not everything, like, man, being broke leads to a lot of creativity. It leads to a lot of community. It leads to a lot of love. And so, I don't know.
I feel there's a lot of beautiful lessons, too, that aren't available to just anybody, depending on where they grew up or whatever. So, I agree. I think there's a lot of beauty in that.
Absolutely.
Do you feel going back to how you said that when you're on stage, that's not the act, like you're actually being you? Yeah. So do you feel that at times, like, just reality and just day-to-day life and getting from one place to another, job interviews, whatever it may be, when dealing with just the world and the people in it, do you feel like that's really the act? Like like that do you feel like that's happens to you, or have you found a way to get away from that act? That daily act.
Like, absolutely, that's the act. I have been lucky to, like, because of what I do and some of the opportunities that have come to me, I have been able to live a lot of my life where I could be myself more than most people. But a lot of folks, because of responsibilities they have or the job they have, you know, they got to show up to work and smile no matter how prejudiced their boss is.
I see.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I have been in situations where it's just like, I'm just trying to get this paycheck. I'm not trying to start a revolution right now. Is this place messed up? Is it unfair? Is it unjust? Are they treating me worse than these people over here for reasons that we all know? Of course. But I also need this money. You know what I'm saying? And so you smile.
Yeah.
You know, and you do your thing. And it's like, and you find other ways to, and so like that, it's hard, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, like, can't everything be something that you start marching in the streets over? You gotta pick your battles, right? And that's just the reality of, you know, not being part of the privileged group.
Yeah.
You know, like, man, if I wanted to, I could be pissed off all the time, but I don't want to be pissed off all the time. But, you know, so yeah, there's a lot of acting that happens. There is, you know. But there's also a lot of beauty. And for me in my work, that's what's most important. I want to paint a holistic reality. Because for everybody, there are difficult things in your life and there are beautiful things in your life. There are blessings and there are times where you're like, why, God, why? Why is this happening? Is you even real? Do you even care about this? You know what I'm saying? And then there's other things like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Simple things. I'm not talking about hitting the lottery or becoming super wealthy or rich. You know, there are just certain times where you just reminded of like how grateful you are to be alive because, I don't know, you just eating your favorite tacos with your best friend, or, you know, I'm an uncle. I love being an uncle. I'm just sitting here playing with my nephews and niece, and I'm just like, man, the world is so beautiful, you know, and messed up and ugly, but it's beautiful right now, you know. And my you know, my nephews and nieces, they just bring me so much joy. You know?
How old are they?
Oh, there's 4 of them now.
Okay.
So I got 3 nephews and a niece, and they're all a couple of years apart. So I think the oldest one's like 7, and like 5, 3, and then one is just born.
Oh, so they could search you up on YouTube already and stuff, right? Like,
you
have they
what's
seen
crazy,
any of your work?
So what's crazy is, so my sister, she shows them my work. She plays them my music. I didn't really understand how much
they listen?
How much they listen and understand. Like, and when I think about it, it makes sense because I remember being in 3rd grade, 8 years old and younger.
You
like,
remember things you used to see on TV
see on TV,
little flashes
lyrics,
of things,
though.
right?
I could rap whole rap songs when I was 6, 7, 8, right? But I didn't really think about, because, you know, I travel a lot and I don't always get to see my family as much as I would like to.
I wanted to talk to you about that too,
yeah,
about your travel.
But the thing is, like, it was crazy to know, like, I'm making these albums, which I believe have content that is good.
I agree.
Like, for my nephews and nieces. It's not like they definitely weren't the target audience, but like, if they happen to hear it, and there's some mature content on there too, but I'm still saying something that I think is good. I never thought about it, because when I was writing, I'm thinking about adults. But I was a kid listening to adult music and learning stuff. I was. And so all of a sudden, one time I was hanging out with them, and my sister was driving, and she puts on my music. And my little baby niece, like, she was young.
Yeah.
She starts rapping every word. And I thought to myself, man, that's cool. You know, like, even when I'm not around, I'm able to, like, be a positive influence in their life through this music. So that really got me.
They understand a lot, you know, like, and I definitely think there's a message to be heard.
Oh, for sure.
You know, when it comes to that. Going back to your travels, I thought that story was pretty cool about, what was that, Bend, Oregon, where you were?
Yeah.
Is that Bend, Oregon?
Yeah, Bend.
Bend, Oregon.
Called Bend.
How long were you living there? How long were you out there?
So I lived in...
I love Oregon. I've never been there personally, but
okay.
I have friends that lived out here that moved there.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time up in the cannabis counties, up
okay.
in Humboldt.
Yeah.
You know, so it's borderline Oregon almost.
Yeah.
So I really like that lifestyle. But
yeah.
how was things out there?
It was cool, man. Like, I lived up there for 2 years. I was doing an internship, both with a church and working with some youth, doing mentorship things.
Right on.
But I miss the city. I miss the diversity. Bend was gorgeous. It's like a lot of outdoorsy type stuff, mountains, rivers, and all this stuff. And
do you like that kind of stuff?
You know,
do you like? Are you a nature guy?
So
I think you are.
I had never tried it before until I lived there, and I did love it. But that was part of the thing that I liked about it, is just trying new things. I'm adventurous. Whether we talking about hiking mountains or just eating food that I never had before from another culture. Mm-hmm. And again, I've been blessed to. I mean, I've traveled the world a few times, man. And but Bend is a place where I got to like live and not just visit. And yeah, I liked it, but I was glad to come back to Long Beach because there just wasn't that much diversity. So I was learning new things, but parts of me were dying. Like there wasn't a huge hip hop community. There was some poets up there, but you know, it was small town. I felt like I wasn't being challenged because I felt like I was a big fish in a small pond. You know, where down here, you know, you go to an open mic or whatever, and there's all kind of cats who can spit. There's all kind of, you know, and you want to like step up your game.
It keeps you sharp, right? It keeps you sharp.
Totally. Like that healthy competition. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't believe in like competing when folks really be like jealous and stuff like that. But I like being around talented people because it makes me say, okay, I'm gonna be more disciplined.
It motivates you. I definitely think it motivates you, and you relate to other people as well. People relate to you, so you just get a different perspective on things. Because we all get tired of listening to ourselves after a while, you know. I think that definitely works for artists and for poets to just, you know, let somebody else do the work sometimes and just let your brain just flow.
You always got to be a fan, man.
Yeah.
That's how we all got into it. Every single last one of us.
Right.
You know, if you ever get so caught up in your own stuff that you think you're the only person who's dope, man, you missed it. Mm-hmm. You missed it. You know, I don't care how dope you are. You gotta be a fan. You gotta listen to folks who are other than you. You gotta listen to the new, younger generation of stuff that you don't understand. But you trying to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not about this whole, the young generation can't. Every single generation says that. Yeah. People said hip hop wasn't music, and before hip hop, people
and
said,
now it's like one of the number one most selling. Like it blew country, rock and roll out the water.
Totally. But people said jazz wasn't music. People said, you know, it goes back, and now in hip hop, you know, you got. I mean, I'm 31, you know, and so I'm not even talking about the old heads like the 50, 60-year-old cat. I'm talking about, you know, I know people my age who are artists like me, and they looking at the young cats like, man, that ain't even hip hop no more, and that's not it. And I'm like, you know what? They doing something different. Like, listen, and they're innovating. Like nothing stays the same.
Times are not the same.
No.
So you know, we're pretty much the same age. I'm 32, but I mean, so that tells me you lived through the LA riots. You know, you saw a lot of crazy stuff that was going on back in the 90s and the 80s. You know. Crack, dope, like the. I'm from South Central LA. This is I know you grew up in Long Beach, but it's the same thing, you know.
Very similar.
It's like a lot of the same stuff going on in the alleys and shit.
Yeah.
So, but let me ask you a question. So if people were to want to get to know you, like, is there like a certain poetry read, a certain performance, a certain song that you feel that's the song that identifies you the most, that people can, if there was one song that people had to hear, like, or any poetry, do you feel, what would that be? Just so our fans can, you know, go check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
And get to know who is Micah Bournes.
Word. So, I mean, the poem that I like the best of mine is, right now, is a poem called Native Tongue.
Okay.
And it's not on any of the poetry albums because it's a newer one, but there is a video of it on YouTube if you type in my first and last name and then Native Tongue. I really like that one. It kind of shows I say it's my signature poem. Okay. You know, so as far as music, song, like my last album is called A Time Like This. I love the whole album. It's hard to pick one. But
is that available on SoundCloud or
it's on
Spotify?
Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. So A Time Like This is actually a mix. It's mostly hip hop. It's 12 rap songs, 4 poems.
Okay.
But all of my albums are available on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all of the streaming things. So,
Right on.
yeah, A Time Like This is my most recent project. And so I would say if you want to kind of, see where I'm at now, I put out things pretty consistently over the past like 8 years or so. But they just kind of go back about 2 years each in between each album. So, yeah, A Time Like This is my most recent one. The album before that was actually my blues album called
Okay.
No Ugly Babies. And then I had the 2 spoken word albums before that, Live and Ill, and then one called The Man Without a Name, which
I really like that one too.
Oh,
that was pretty deep, man. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, The Man Without a Name was my first full-length album of poetry, and it dealt a lot with identity issues, just like me really thinking through racial issues and what it means to be normal and who I was, and thinking through other folks, like justice issues, like on an introductory level. Alive and Ill was one that really dealt with this tension of what I was talking about before, how there's always beautiful things and always difficult things.
Okay.
Like, I titled it Alive and Ill because in a very real way, I'm sick. I have a chronic illness called ulcerative colitis. But that album actually opens with a story that was pretty wild. I had an auntie who was sick, and the doctors said that she could die any day. But also, my sister at the time was pregnant with my very first nephew, and she was extra pregnant, and the doctor said you could go into labor any day, right? And so one time I went to bed and my phone rings at stupid early, like 3:34 in the morning. I was like, who the heck is calling me at 3:30 in the morning? And I like roll over. I'm just trying to shut the phone off, and I see it's my mom. I see it's my mom calling me, and all of a sudden I like freeze.
So that was weird for you, right?
The thing was, I was aware of both of these situations. My sister being pregnant and my auntie being in the hospital, possibly about to die. So when I see my mom calling me that early, I know it's family business. But I don't know which one it was. So I'm scared to answer the phone because I'm like, am I about to start like jumping for joy that my nephew was born? Or am I about to start grieving because my auntie just died?
Right.
And that tension, to me, that's life. That's every moment of life is like you're living in between those two realities. Like there's so much beauty and so many things to celebrate and so much to be afraid of and to grieve and to cry over all at the same time. And that's why I titled it that. Like, man, I'm alive and I'm sick. And it's like, that's always true. Even if I didn't have this sickness, even if it wasn't my particular body, I could look at the community and like on behalf of my people feel ill. I could look at the world and on behalf of other folks suffer in other places. But I can also do the same thing with the joy and the beauty. And so that album, Alive and Ill, is kind of about that back and forth. How do you remain sane when there's always those things pulling, and which one is stronger? So that's what Alive and Ill is about. No Ugly Babies, again, was a blues album about a lot of different things. But my most recent project, A Time Like This, I really wrote it in response to the fact that Donald Trump got elected.
Right.
And it was me. That one is kind of, I would say, my most aggressive, like justice-oriented album, like activist album. Like that. A Time Like This, the whole like first track to the last track is just like fist in the air. But again, more than just anger. Like really trying to educate folk and help people who felt a lot of things but didn't have the words, like putting words to the frustration of folks who, I got a gift. God has gifted me with words. And so, some people were just sad, some people were scared, some people were angry but didn't know how to explain themselves. And I'm like, I put words to it. So that it actually, like, it kind of has a subtitle. It's called A Time Like This, a hip-hop lament for America. And just like grieving the state of this nation, but also offering some hope.
I see. It's cool. So before we wrap up, is there? Well, I wanted to see if there was something that you could read for us, maybe something short, something long, whatever you like. Before, after I ask you what I'm about to ask you, so we can close off the episode.
Yeah.
But is there a message or a thought that you would like to share with our viewers on how? On the message that you want to give across? Like, is it a message of peace? Is it a message of unity? Is it a message of community?
Yeah.
A combination of all those things, you know, in your own words, you know, if you want to share with our friends
absolutely
what that message is, you know?
Yeah, so I have a line on the album, A Time Like This. It's from a track called Just War Theory. I say fight evil with poetry. Right, and I kind of elaborate on that, but that also led to a book that I helped put together with 30 different poets writing about different issues of justice. But the thing is, I remember wearing it out one time, and a guy, we made t-shirts that said fight evil with poetry as well, and I remember wearing it out, and a guy looked at it, and he goes, "Oh man, that's funny, but like, that ain't gonna work. You know, like, that's cute, fight evil with poetry, but," he's like, "what you gonna do with a poem if someone run up in here with a gun?" You know, and it's this concept of, man, that's a nice sentimental thought, but that ain't really gonna do nothing. But the message I want to give is one of courage and hope, because when we talk about things like, for example, good and evil, right and wrong, love and hate, you know, truth and lies, God and Satan, we talk about them like that. We name them right next to each other like they're equally powerful, right? Like truth and lies, justice and injustice, good and evil, love and hate are equally powerful, but opposite, and they're fighting each other. But what I realized is, if that's true, if love is just as strong as hate, and hate is just as strong as love, then there's actually no guarantee that the good one is gonna win, right? You just biting your fingernails and crossing your fingers and hoping and praying. But if they're equally powerful, we don't know which way this is gonna go. But I actually don't believe they're equally powerful. I personally am convinced that love is way stronger than hate. That truth is way more powerful than lies. That God is way more powerful than Satan. That beauty is way stronger than the ugliness in this world. And if you believe that, then no matter how things get, you can remind yourself of that truth. Like, you know what? No matter what it may seem or may feel in this moment, we can fight evil with poetry. We can respond to hate with love. Not just because that's the right thing to do or the moral high road, but it's actually the most powerful tool we have. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, fighting fire with fire don't work. Everything just burned down. You know? And so that's what I tell folks, you know, be encouraged and you know, believe and remember that the power of goodness and love and community and friendship and all that stuff is actually a stronger force in this world than jealousy and hate and bigotry and ugliness, you know?
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Hell yeah. I definitely like that message. That's definitely a message that I would share with people, with my family, with my friends, even my kids, you know. I think that's something that I could definitely share with the people I love and people I would like to maybe help them change a little bit, you know, just be a little bit more positive about things.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, man.
Oh,
I really appreciate
man.
that.
It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, definitely. And we hope to have you back at a later time, you know.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to post up your links. You guys can check out Micah Bournes on Instagram. You can check him out on Spotify, on iTunes Music as well.
iTunes,
Michael
Apple
Bourne,
Music.
sorry, Michael Bourne.
Yeah.
Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud.
Bandcamp.
Bandcamp.
All my albums are free downloads on Bandcamp. MicahBourne.bandcamp.com.
Okay.
So there's all of my stuff is free downloads, and the singles are free downloads as well. Or you could just stream it, or you could buy it on iTunes. Yeah.
And
you have a link on Instagram as well, right?
Yeah, there's links to all my stuff on my Instagram. And then my website is just my name, MicahBournes.com. There's a lot of cool content on my website. There's some videos you can watch. There's also, like with my album A Time Like This, because I was dealing with a lot of heavy material, I basically wrote notes on all of the songs, like 5 to 8 pages worth of like really breaking down what I was saying and like the history I was referencing or the statistics that like, you know, I talk about stuff like gun violence and the history of racism and all these things. And so, you know, I wanted to provide something where if people really wanted to go deeper with those conversations, they could. So yeah, you can listen to it, but you could also go on my website, click on a blog, and every single song, you just click on the title of it, and boom, like all these notes pop up to help folks learn.
Right on. Yeah. Do you have anything published like on paper? Like, have you ever thought about maybe writing a book? Not a book, but just a book of collections.
Of poems. Yeah. No, absolutely. That's actually one of my projects that I'm working on right now.
Hell yeah.
So I'm working on. I'm working on a book. So the Fight Evil with Poetry is a book as well, and I helped put it together. I have 3 poems in there, but it's 30 different poets from all different backgrounds writing about justice issues.
Right on.
So you could buy that, and if you buy it online, actually the proceeds go to nonprofit organizations. And so that's cool. But I am working on my first book of poems, and it's called Here Comes This Dreamer, and it should be coming out sometime next year in 2020.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. So, do you have something that you would like to read with us or share with us?
Let me think.
I don't want you to feel pressure.
No, it's all good, man.
You know, I just think it would be dope if for people to get the feeling that I got. I think our viewers will love that. I think that would be dope for them.
Cool.
But I'm gonna say thank you to you for coming, man. I really appreciate your time. For coming by again. I hope you come by again at a later date, you know, so we can talk some more and see where you're at then. So I'm gonna step to the side, and then if you want to read, feel free to go ahead and do so.
Question 2.
So the question is, if your house or your place that you love, you grew up in, was actually on fire, you know, unfortunately, like, I don't know if you're a material person or do you pride yourself like on possessions or things like that, but what are the 3 things that you would go for first, like to get out your house, run out, like things that you just couldn't live without, you know, that
I'd probably say my computer, only because a lot of my poetry's on there.
Okay.
And my music is on there, you know. I don't want to lose
so
those
like
songs.
your collection of work.
My collection of work, you know. So definitely my computer. Probably my wallet, just so I don't have to get all my cards again.
I have to go get an ID.
Exactly, and send a DMV again and get a. You know what I'm saying? Like bump all that. That takes forever. Honestly, everything else, I'm like, I ain't tripping. I'm really not too materialistic. I don't like shoes and all that stuff. I'm like, whatever. But and my cell phone. There we go. My computer, my wallet, my cell phone. I'll be straight. Everything else, you can burn it up.
you know what's crazy? I just realized not a lot of people have photo albums anymore. Because back in the days, I remember like I would hear stories about back in the days when I was growing up. Like, you know, when we were younger in the 90s, 80s. Things were always on fire. Like there was always like a house burning or like a store burning or something. But one of the things people would like growing up, people would always go for their photo albums first because that was a collection of their family's history. You know, and us being Latino, people, a lot of the pictures. People couldn't even afford the pictures back in the homeland, like in Central America, before they came here. So whenever people did come over here, were able to afford cameras. So that is unknown to me, you know, like like our family out there. Like, I don't know what anybody looks like. You know, so that's crazy. Nobody goes for their photo albums no more. They go for, I guess they would go for their phone, right? Like, cool. So man. Definitely dope talking to you. I'm feeling the vibes, man. I would love to go check you out live. So I'm gonna be checking out your website and see if you post up. Any
Yeah,
dates
if you
for
follow
any-
me on Instagram, especially when I do local shows around Long Beach and LA,
Yeah.
I always post about it.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you on Instagram,
Yeah,
so for
yeah.
sure I'm gonna see
Yeah,
that. Are you
so-
on Twitter too?
I am on Twitter.
Cool,
I'm on
cool.
Twitter,
I'm gonna have to go
Instagram,
follow you on
Facebook.
Twitter for sure.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'd love to see y'all and anyone listening come out to a show. You know, I'd
Yeah,
love to meet
definitely.
y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you want to close us out with something you want to read for us,
Yeah,
that'd
yeah.
be
I'll
great.
the poem I referenced when you said like what's maybe your favorite. So I'll do that one. It's called Native Tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, definitely for
Yeah.
sure.
All right. Once again, my name is Micah Bournes. This poem is titled Native Tongue. According to ShakespeareOnline.com, the English language owes a great debt to Shakespeare. He invented over 1,700 of our common words by changing nouns into verbs, changing verbs into adjectives, connecting words never before used together, adding prefixes and suffixes, and devising words wholly original. If I could, I'd spit this in whatever mother tongue was ripped from our mother's lips. But the closest I got to that is hip-hop, is black talk, is improper, non-proper, unproper, uneducated, un-educated, unscratched, assimilated me talk, we talk, our talk. Make y'all wish y'all know I'm talking about talk. Make y'all ask your black friend talk. Make y'all run to urbandictionary.com talk. That one thing, that something that belongs to us. That us you try to demonize, envy, copy, despise. That us you try to categorize, stereotype, try to shame our broken English you wish you could understand, but you can't never get it because we stay fly, we stay fresh, we stay changed, we stay everyday new way to say we never believed your lies, we never spoke your tongue, we've been uneducated, educated, unscratched, assimilated, and if you ever want to know what we talking about, maybe you need to unlearn a thing or two. Who says our vernacular ain't classical? Who says rap lyricists are anything less than Shakespearean? Shakespeare, a man who turned nouns into verbs and invented 1,700 words. That's funny. When we break the rules, we're called ignorant. When we invent words, they're called slang. The way we talk is improper, non-proper, unproper, uneducated, educated, unscratched, assimilated. We ain't never been dumb. We break English like chains. This is our native tongue. It was a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. The name's Micah Bournes, born and raised in the LBC. For life.